Robloxian Doll Killer, featuring Dorian. Full name Dorian Creep Vandyjoke. Crimes and sprees. Dorian is a fictional serial killer also known to have supernatural powers from the universe of YouTuber Shaneplays. He appears in only one of the videos in Shaneplays' YouTube channel and the Roblox channel. Throughout the video, Dorian is both known to murder people in the Robloxian city on-screen and off-screen. In the video specifically, Dorian hunts the main character, Stan's family, and attempts to murder them. Stan's family includes a single mother and a bully-like older brother. Usually when Dorian commits his murder spree, with his supernatural powers, he would trap people inside dolls he would create. In some of the occasions, he would even murder and brutally stab people with a knife, then dismember their bodies into chunks and put them inside dolls. However, most of the time, he would use his supernatural powers. Other than murders, Dorian would taunt families by sending them small coffins, not sending by it. Anyways, along with life-threatening letters. Also, it was noted Dorian also has a power to appear in people's dreams and taunt them, or he would put people in dangerous situations in their dreams. Overall, the murder Dorian commits involved severe, dangerous methods and with his supernatural powers. Investigation. The investigation of Dorian in the Shaneplays video doesn't involve the traditional serial killer case, or let alone the police involved due to the fact they wouldn't believe main character Stan when reporting to the police. Stan, the main character, is really the lead detective for the case who begins the investigation when moving to the home. Tragically, Stan and his family, the Jones family, would move to the flat right in front of the house where Dorian lives in. One day, the following day, Dorian would break in and commit burglary towards the house where Stan lives in. Dorian would then give Stan and his family dolls that exactly resembles them. The mother of Stan immediately threw the dolls out. However, the next day, somehow the dolls would appear in an arcade that Stan and his friend Chris plays, along with the workplace of where his brother Paul works in. Due to the weird situation, Stan, along with his buddy Chris, would sneak inside the flat of Dorian. However, when getting inside, they would discover and observe Dorian committing with some sort of ritualistic behavior inside a room. The following day, after school, Stan was waiting for his mother to pick him up. However, she never came, leading to him becoming worried. He got home, and when he got home, his mother's car was still in the driveway. However, the brother of Stan, Paul, would dismiss the concerns of Stan. Later, Stan, the next day, would find the disappearance in the neighborhood near Dorian's house, the disappearance of his neighbors. Investigation Part 2. Once again, after school, Stan and Chris would sneak into the backyard of Dorian once again. However, Dorian would spot the two sneaking in, leading to him doing a jump scare on the two. Stan and Chris asks Dorian about the disappearances of his mother and the old neighbors. However, the moment Chris asks about the missing case, Dorian would threaten Chris to murder him, along with Stan becoming a friend of Dorian permanently. So he says. The following night, the brother of Stan would hold a party for the entire school. Due to the noise coming from the party, Dorian barged into the party, pissed off, and yelled to the brother of Stan to be quiet. However, the brother of Stan, Paul, did not like the sound of that, leading to him throwing a punch and a kickbox at Dorian. During midnight, after both Stan and Chris went to sleep, Dorian murdered the entire students who came to the party or attended it. along with attempting to murder the brother of Chris. However, he failed each attempt. Because of the missing case of his brother, Stan and Chris would report the case to police. The police, however, they would dismiss them. However, one of the officers, Officer Rufus, had told Stan a man named Ezra had experienced living at the same flat as Stan currently lives. Reportedly, Dorian had murdered Ezra's entire family, including his mother, father, and little sister. Investigation, Part 3. After Stan heard the case of Ezra, Dorian broke into the house once again, then threatened Stan that he would murder both his mother and brother. Stan and Chris the next day would find out about the dark magic Dorian made, the living curse, leading to the two setting up a ritualistic event to get rid of the dark magic of Dorian. However, the attempt ritual would fail, leading to Dorian murdering Chris with his supernatural powers. Dorian Creep Van de Jog versus Stan Jones. For the case of Dorian, there is no traditional trial or court proceedings. However, similar to the case of Bruce the Shark from Jaws, there would be some sort of life or death situation and battle between the two. Dorian would lure Stan to his home, introducing the ritualistic behavior Dorian would often commit with whenever he does the murders. However, when Dorian started this ritualistic himself, Stan would twist and destroy the ritualistic site Dorian made, leading to the execution of Dorian with the help of his failed supernatural activities and rituals. Childhood. The childhood of Dorian, based on the limited information in the video of Shaneplays, it was reportedly negative. Specifically, it was heavily unstable, negative, emotionally detaching, and abusive both physically and verbally. The father of Dorian would brutally punch Dorian, slam him into walls, and taunt the young Dorian. While his mother did not care and did nothing to help on saving the boy from getting abused, it is unknown whether Dorian himself had siblings or not though. However, one day, Dorian would gain some sort of supernatural energy, a dark and negative energy, leading to him murdering his parents, making them the first victims. Ever since that day, Dorian began to murder people left and right, specifically for those who lived around his neighborhood, including Ezra and the main character Stan Jones. In a way, Dorian is spiritually bound to the house he lived in before his execution. Personal life, potentially affecting their crimes and acts. The personal life of Dorian had limited information based on the video of Shaneplays. However, reportedly Dorian would not age, leading to him staying as young as a teenager for the rest of his supernatural life. Dorian every year would go to the Robloxian high school and terrorize kids as revenge. In a way, Dorian was majority bullied, of the times bullied by both students and adults around him, leading to each and one of them becoming his victims as revenge. Pivotal events. Dorian Creep Van de Jog was born on the 16th of November around the 1980s. Dorian committed his first murder around the early 1990s at age 16. On the 1990s, Dorian began to gain supernatural powers. On 2015, Dorian murdered the family of Ezra. On June 18, 2025, Dorian attempted to murder the mother of Stan. On June 19, 2025, Dorian attempted to murder the brother of Stan, Paul Jones. On June 21, 2025, Dorian murdered the friend of Stan, Chris. On June 21, 2025, Dorian attempted to murder and bound Stan into a doll. Quotes from Dorian Creep Van de Jog. Hello! Ha! Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to startle you. I'm Dorian, your new neighbor, and I bought you a gift. Hello, Jones family! Oh, ho, ho. Oh, isn't this fun? Hello, neighbor. This noise is ruining everything. I'm trying to concentrate on something important. You're all too loud, too messy, too stupid. You're inviting things in. Very bad things. Nobody talks to me. Nobody ever wants me around. And you moved next door. What are you doing? No! Forensic inferences. For the case of Dorian, he is a type of serial killer where he desires to have some sort of companionship, quite similar to the case of Dennis Nelson, despite the fiction and non-fiction along with the different timelines. Throughout the life of Dorian, even before he gained his supernatural powers, he was heavily isolated from society. He grew heavily detached and emotionally detached, despite the emotions he pretends to show in front of the public. In a way, while not diagnosed, he likely had some sort of personality disorders or even psychopathy. He may also be a form of a narcissist due to the fact he often thinks about himself rather than the people around. In a way, Dorian is a serial killer who does anything to do and receive what he desires and wants. Dorian isn't necessarily targeting Stan, or wasn't necessarily targeting Stan along with his family. He desired to have some sort of companionship and collect them, or at least desire to have a person that never leaves his side no matter what. While he may have received the proper education, no one really helped with his emotional control. Dorian was likely a boy who was an outcast in his school. When committing his first murder, Dorian likely felt skeptical. However, for the sakes of not getting abused anymore, he likely used that courage to commit the murders towards his parents. Dorian didn't necessarily have a specific target either. It was murdering whoever came to his territory, not to protect his land, but to gain power over the people who came into the land. Overall, the crimes and murders of Dorian was driven by a combination of severe loneliness, hate, and supernatural gain. Legacy and impact. The case, let alone the video of Dorian, isn't as known or famous. However, it could teach people the effects, specifically the isolation effects it could have towards a person even in a non-fiction world. It can tell us why he committed the murders and why he targeted the people in the first place when they came to his land. Till this day, in the timeline of Gen Z, many individuals struggle foolishly to understand bullying and abusement is negative and it could have dangerous effects towards a person.